Hey guys, welcome to Shama TV. We are at the Dallas Digital Summit. I have a special guest, Keith LaFerriere, who is Chief Experience Officer. We're very lucky to have Keith with us here today, and we're talking about, Keith, a most misunderstood topic matter, which is user experience. So can you please define for us what is user experience?
Sure, there's a lot of levels to it. The first one is just understanding what encompasses user experience. First off, it's a level of discipline for many different myriad of products and services and all the design techniques that go with it. You start with information architecture or experience architecture to set the stage and build foundation. You move on to interaction design and layout and structure. And then you sometimes bridge into the visual design or visual design into HTML build, depending on who you are, what your agency is, and what you do.
And so hearing this, some people might say, oh, so this is for technical products, or this is only for, anyone doing anything with design, or this is for software. But that's really not true these days, is it? I feel like UX, how we interact, what does that experience look like for customers, for users, for clients? I feel like that's really broad. Would you agree? Do you feel like that's a...
Yeah, it's broad and it applies to everything, which is the other misnomer, is that UX is a web discipline or couples of disciplines. It really matters from the time you're a baby and learn how to open a door with a doorknob. That's user experience. If you can really fine tune the approach to doing something in the easiest, most beautiful way, you've really understood what user experience is, and it applies to everything. What also happens is that people confuse it with customer experience, which is the overarching thread through everything. So customer experience being from cradle to grave, and user experience being the usability and the beauty and the usefulness of the things that you interact with on a daily basis.
So customer experience would be from someone who comes in, buys the product, right? The whole process.
The overarching entire
right? And
journey.
Then you are saying that user experience would be specifically how they interact?
Yeah, so user experience really applies to there is a strategy for it that ladders up to hopefully your overall customer experience, but it's really a discipline to try and create tactics out of the strategy. So how am I going to have someone sign up or onboard for a new product? How am I going to have them sign up for our website? Where does the email sign up go to? All the way through navigation and call outs and video playing and all that stuff. So it gets very deep, very quick.
It's the how.
Yeah, very much so.
So who owns this, and who should own this in an organization?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's still pretty disparate in terms of thinking on who should own this process. If you're part of an agency, it's the digital group, or at this point, the digital group. If you're part of a large organization, it's primarily either under an IT function that has the keys to the kingdom on the website, or it's the CMO who has all the money for the budget and marketing. So it really just depends on what type of organization you work for.
So do you think it matters who owns it, as long as someone owns it and there's accountability for it?
That's a great question. So another great question. So what I'd say is somebody has to own it that has the money and the influence to make great things happen for your brand. It does not matter to me if the IT person has the budget to do it, as long as they really couple tightly with the CMO to get stuff done. So as long as they're both at the table, that's great.
And I feel like this is a rising career. You see more of this. I mean, at least on LinkedIn, even of more companies looking for this. But so let's say someone wants to go into this side. What's the career trajectory? Well, we have a lot of young people who tune in. So what would be your advice to someone who says, "This sounds fascinating. I have an eye for this. But how do you hone something like this? How do you really turn it into a skill set?"
You should pick if you're young and just starting out, pick what really interests you the most and go for it. You could be an information architect where you're really trying to build the foundation. You could be an amazing creative designer, and that's your role within UX. You can also be a project manager that understands UX disciplines. So it's really at this point, because it's not a niche one thing anymore, and there are so many opportunities within the UX disciplines that you could pick almost anything at this point and really run with it.
So really pick something within the broader group, right? Within the broader, and then hone in on that.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. And so for companies who are saying 2016, we really need to do an overhaul of our user experience, where do they start? Where does someone really start?
So it always starts hopefully with the content, because you don't design just a website or an experience. You design content to go into these experiences and make sure that you're communicating the right way. So I typically tell clients to start with what is the problem you're trying to solve. Either you're not bringing in enough revenue, you're not converting customers quickly enough, you're not selling the right products, or conversely, everything's going great and you actually want to add 5 products to your pipeline. How do you even do that? It's the same process, believe it or not. Starts at the brand level, understanding what the communication goals are, then works its way into each communication pillar across each delivery mechanism. So it could be a website, it could be an app, it could be anything. It could be your social media strategy.
I love that. So start with your content, start with your goals, and then look at what needs to be done. All right, Keith, if you could wave a magic wand, okay, and tomorrow, not for $1 million, but you can wave a magic wand and say you could erase any misconception about UX. Like you would wake up tomorrow and people just would not have that misconception. What would it be?
Believe it or not, that it's not important. That's the misconception that I would get rid of. There are a lot of IT individuals, maybe, no offense to anyone,
Sure,
or other
fine,
departments that believe that UX is just a frilly design role and it really doesn't matter. It matters quite a bit, and it actually has a huge impact on your bottom line. So I would wave away the misconception that it's not important as much as they think it is.
I love that because competition's growing.
Absolutely.
Because people have a higher bar, right,
Absolutely.
for what they expect. I think that's contributed a lot. I mean, we're used to a certain level now of ease that we expect, and if that's not a given, I feel like people will pull back.
Yeah, think about this. A person growing up on the web right now has 10 times the expectations that we did growing up at the web. So they're already going into the experience thinking that it's going to do X, Y, and Z, and we still have hundreds of thousands of companies that aren't up to bar yet. So there's a lot of work out there still. There's a lot of effort that needs to be done, and still a lot of education about what needs to happen.
Well, we're glad we have you, Keith.
Oh,
so
thanks.
thanks so much for making a splash in the UX world and keeping us educated. All right, guys, be sure to subscribe so you can catch all our content from the Dallas Digital Summit, and we'll see you soon.